In 1531, an image of the Virgin Mary appeared on the cloak of an Aztec peasant named Juan Diego. For nearly 5 centuries, skeptics and scientists have tried to explain it, but in the 1980s, a team of astronomers decided to settle the question once and for all. They mapped the 46 stars on Mary's blue mantle, expecting random decorative dots. Instead, they found a precise star map of the Mexican sky on December 12, 1531, the exact date of the apparition. And that wasn't even the most disturbing part. The star map was backwards, not wrong, reversed, as if someone had painted the constellations from outside the universe, looking down. Most people think the stars on Guadalupe's cloak are just decorative patterns painted by a skilled artist, but astronomers discovered they're a precision star map, and the only way to read it correctly is from God's perspective. This is the story the debunkers didn't expect to tell. Let me set the scene. You have a cloak made of agave cactus fibers. This material is known to disintegrate within 20 to 30 years, yet this particular cloak has survived for nearly 500 years. No preservatives, no protective coating, no known pigments, no brush strokes detected under infrared analysis. Philip Callahan, a biophysicist who consulted for NASA, examined the Tilma in 1979. His infrared study found no underdrawing, no sizing, and no conventional artistic technique in the original image. The colors should have faded centuries ago. They haven't. And replicas made from the same agave fibers fell apart within 15 years. So before we even get to the stars, we're already dealing with something that shouldn't exist. But the star map takes this to another level entirely. It forces a question that nobody was prepared for. If the stars on this cloak are astronomically accurate, who put them there? If you're interested in deepening your faith, hit like and tell me where you're watching from. Consider subscribing to stay rooted in Catholic truth. Support our videos, team, and tools. Link in description or scan the QR code on screen. But where does this teaching actually come from? The answer goes all the way back to Genesis. In Genesis chapter 1 verse 14, God creates the celestial lights and says they are to serve as oto, the Hebrew word meaning signs, not decoration, not random beauty, signs, purposeful divine communication. Psalm 19 verse 1 declares, "The heavens declare the glory of God, the firmament proclaims the work of his hands." In Jewish theology, the stars are not silent. They speak. They carry messages from God. And in the book of Job, chapter 38, verse 32, God challenges Job directly. Can you bring forth the Mazzaroth in their season? Mazzaroth means the constellations. God is saying, I bring forth the constellations, I arrange them, I place them where I will. Now look at Revelation chapter 12, verse 1. John sees a great sign in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and on her head a crown of 12 stars. The Greek word for sign here is semeion, the exact equivalent of the Hebrew ot, a great sign, a woman, stars. And when you look at the Guadalupe image, that's exactly what you see. A woman standing before the sun, the crescent moon beneath her feet, and stars covering her mantle. The early church father Quadvolteus, a disciple of St. Augustine, wrote around 430 AD that the woman signified the Virgin Mary. And in 1648, the Mexican theologian Miguel Sanchez became the first to formally connect the Guadalupe image to the woman of Revelation 12. But the astronomical study took this connection from theological interpretation to measurable data. Dr. Juan Hernandez Illescas, a Mexican astronomer, mapped all 46 stars on the Tilma in the 1980s and 90s. Working alongside Father Mario Rojas, he identified the major constellations of both the northern and southern skies. The constellations on the right side of the mantle correspond to the northern sky. The left side corresponds to the southern sky. The positions match the stars visible over Mexico City at 10:26 a.m. on December 12, 1531. That's not a rough approximation, that's a timestamp. The Catechism teaches in paragraph 971 that the Church's devotion to the Blessed Virgin is intrinsic to Christian worship. This image, with its encoded star map, suggests that devotion isn't just pious tradition, it's written in the heavens themselves. So what does this mean practically for you today? Here is where it gets genuinely disturbing for the skeptics. The star map is reversed, the constellations are astronomically accurate, but they're flipped, as if you're looking at them not from Earth, but from beyond the stars, from outside the universe, looking down. Think about what that means. No astronomer in 1531 had any concept of what the constellations would look like from another vantage point. The Aztec people had no telescopes, no star charts comparable to European astronomy, and certainly no framework for imagining a view from beyond the celestial sphere. Yet the 46 stars on this cloak are positioned with precision and displayed from a perspective that only makes sense if the painter was looking at the stars from heaven, and the specific constellation placements are theologically loaded. The constellation Virgo, the Virgin, sits directly over Mary's heart. The constellation Leo, the lion, the king, sits over her womb, exactly where she carries Christ. Leo's brightest star is called Regulus, which means little king in Latin. The little king over the womb of the woman who carries the King of Kings. Most people assume the Guadalupe image is just a cultural artifact, a medieval painting that's been well preserved, but science hasn't confirmed that narrative. Science has contradicted it. Every study designed to explain the Tilma has only deepened the mystery. Now I know what some of you are thinking. Couldn't a clever artist have simply looked up at the sky and copied the star positions? Two problems. First, the stars match not just the general shapes of constellations, but their precise positions on a specific date and time. That level of astronomical accuracy would require observational tools that didn't exist in 16th century Mexico. Second, and this is the part that silences that objection, the star map is backwards. A human artist looking up at the sky would paint what they see. They would not reverse the entire celestial map. The only way to get a reversed star map is to paint from a vantage point above the stars, looking down. No physical location in space produces that view, because the stars within constellations are at vastly different distances from Earth. The reversal doesn't represent a physical location, it represents a theological one. It represents God's perspective. Isaiah chapter 55 verses 8 and 9 says, "For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts." The reversed star map is a visual expression of that verse. It's God's point of view, rendered on cloth. If you want to dive deeper into the evidence behind Catholic miracles and build a stronger foundation for your faith, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss what's coming next. Some will argue that with 46 dots, you can find patterns anywhere. A classic case of pareidolia, seeing shapes in random noise. But this isn't about recognizing a shape in a cloud. The claim is that the star positions correspond to real astronomical coordinates on a specific date and time, and do so in reverse. Random scatter doesn't produce both positional accuracy and a consistent reversed perspective simultaneously. Others point out that some elements of the Tilma were added later by human artists. Gold rays, decorative elements, the angel at Mary's feet. This is true, and Callahan's infrared study documented exactly which parts were added. But the stars fall within the original layer, the same layer that shows no pigments, no brush strokes, and no underdrawing. The human additions actually help the case. They show what human painting on the Tilma looks like, and the original image doesn't look like that. So where does this leave us? With a 500-year-old cloak made of cactus fiber that should have crumbled to dust 4 centuries ago, with an image that has no known pigments, no brush strokes, and defies infrared analysis, with 46 stars that precisely map the sky on the date of the apparition, displayed from a perspective that no human artist could conceive. The Jewish tradition teaches in Psalm 147 verse 4 that God counts the number of the stars and calls them each by name. If God names every star, then the 46 stars on Mary's cloak are not accidents. They are named, placed, intended. The same God who set the stars in the firmament on the 4th day of creation set them again on a peasant's cloak in 1531. This time not in the sky, but on the mantle of the woman who carried his son. And he signed it the only way the God of the universe would, from a vantage point that no one else could occupy. If this helped you, share it with a friend, subscribe, and check out our web app for daily Catholic resources and soul search. The astronomers mapped the stars to debunk her. The stars debunked the astronomers.